Hi there. So I'm doing a little new tape today outside up here in the mountains above Soyer, where I live. And this topic came to me this morning and it's been with me for a couple of days. After I did the other transmission, the big one about the ascension process. And today I just wanted to talk a little bit about coming into alignment with who you really are, so that who you are not will be very visible to you, and actually getting into that peaceful place inside where you don't really care anymore about the outside world, what it thinks, what people think about you, what they say about you, how they judge. Because if you tap into those emotions that you get, I've done a lot of that because from early age I have felt I was very, normal, but still I had these different emotions inside that I didn't really fit into that system, that picture, that this role I was supposed to have. And this has been my journey, as most of those on the ascension path, because it has to do with not feeling similar to everyone else, and that is part of the wake-up call. Because at the same time as we are just, ordinary humans, it has to do with what you feel from early on. And that you start asking questions about a lot of what happens in the outside world. And I think these things are being just more and more profound for us all. And the judgment is being harder and harder, and the pointing fingers, the need to have an opinion about everything and everyone, how everyone is living their lives, how they're not living their lives, if you eat the right things, if you don't eat the right things, whatever differences. It seems that it's just, getting more and more intense. The illusion that we are so different from each other and that we are separate and that we cannot accept those differences. After, I can just speak from experience, after a long time on this path, eventually you just understand that all those expressions out there are just mirrors of yourself from one level or another. So if you start pointing fingers, you're actually pointing the finger at yourself, and eventually that means that you're not loving parts of yourself that you are carrying with you, maybe unconsciously, maybe it's not something that even has to do with this lifetime, but it has to do with loving all that we are, integrating our dark sides and our light, because you wouldn't be able to see what you are without the opposite in this dimension. That's the whole game of polarity, that you are given the gifts of the polar opposites, so that you will be able to find out what you are not. Because a lot of us, we don't really know what we are at some point. We have adjusted so much to the outside world that it gets kind of difficult to really know, who am I? What do I like? What do I want with my life? So the initial parts are very often, what do I not want? What do I not like? And what am I not? And when you have gone through that process, it takes quite a while, because you need to go through all the layers, and there are many. And a lot of uncomfortable feelings that you need to go through to accept all parts of yourself, to get to that point where you can really accept all kinds of expressions as divine expressions of the Creator. So think about that when you are hard on someone else, or that we really need each other to understand who we are, to find out, we'll eventually find our purpose, find out what we want to devote our lives to give to this world, why we are here. It's quite impossible to find out for most of us without all the co-creators that we have. So, you know, in Norway now there's this really hyped, crazy, I would say, discussion about being vegan or not, or eating meat or not. And people are so provoked. I haven't listened a lot. My son has been listening a bit and sending me a few things just to see, like, because this is so crazy to me. I haven't seen much news in a lot of years. I obviously know all the polar opposites out there. I'm not completely sealed off at all. I mean, I follow things, but to really get how mean people can be to each other, it just it doesn't surprise me, but it just tells us how much pain and how much fear we have in the deepest layers. Because why do we really care what other people think? It has to do with our choice, you know, that you are not, that it has to do with fear and doubt. It has to do with a fear of not choosing the right thing, or not being enough, or choosing wrong, or being judged. All of these things. Because eventually, when you realize that we are part of the same, you know, we are all part of the same. There is no separation between you and me. We are there for each other, to hold up a mirror for us to see ourselves. And when you have seen yourself and accepted every little part, there's not much more to get triggered by. Because then you can hold space for all those feelings without projecting them out on anyone else. And that was the phrase I was waking up with this morning. It's an invitation for you to practice and train yourself to hold space for yourself, to feel whatever you feel. And to treat all your triggers in your life. And this is a big one. Try not to project your feelings on the targets that trigger your emotions. Try instead to think that they are, or to receive the gifts that they give you. Because in the moment that you are not triggered anymore, you have been able to hold space for yourself, because it won't matter to you anymore what people think. If you have made the wrong choice, that's okay, because you can choose again and you can choose differently. So if we can all hold space for each other to not judge, because then you are hard on yourself. That means you're not able to you don't allow yourself to try and to perhaps sometimes make wrong choices, and you don't allow yourself the freedom to have more chances to try again. And I think if we could create a world where through this transition phase we need that space, we need to hold space for each other to make wrong choices, and then to be able to take again, you know, take. So you missed the first time, you take again and you try again, and eventually you learn and you feel what feels right for you, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or what anyone else does or what anyone else chooses, because we have so different purposes and so different paths in this life, and eventually we will all align on the same. it might take a while, and that doesn't mean that everyone is going to do the same, but we will understand that we are part of the same, and that we are one, and that we're all here on earth for the same reason, and we're all in the same. And I just told my son this. We're standing up here. It's really quite high over Soyer, and mountains everywhere. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I will do a little turn, but there are mountains all over. And down there in the valley lies Soyer, the little village. It seems quite big when you're down there, and everything is so close to you and very, and you see those high mountains, a majestic mother feeling of the mountains surrounding us. And we are just so, I get so humble when I'm standing up here looking down, and then you just see it from a higher perspective. And that is my invitation for you today, to just try to raise your vibration, raise your consciousness up, so that you can see it from a higher perspective, all those minuscule things that we are doing in our daily lives down there in the valley. And they are real, and they feel real, and that's our playground. That's where we learn and train, and we are allowed to do that. That's why we are here. But if we're conscious doing it, we can have a much greater ride. We can have such an amazing experience if we can be conscious while playing and learning and practicing. Because it takes a lot of practice and self-awareness to master all the master ourselves as humans, because we are trained in playing games, and very often we don't even know that we are playing games. And the manipulative games that humans play is kind of a way to project our feelings. If we cannot hold that space, if we think that we cannot, that we don't allow ourselves to feel fear or doubt or a feeling of not being in control, if we don't feel that, if we don't let ourselves be allowed to feel it and go into it and feel into why do I feel this way? Why don't I give myself space and freedom to dive into these feelings and, stop projecting it out on my surroundings? And that goes both ways. And I have trained so much on this particular thing because of my feeling of feeling different. People only perceive you from their consciousness level. Don't ever forget that. And that's why we cannot all the time try to adjust ourselves to our surroundings. That is an impossible task, and very, very hurting for the soul. So while training, try all the time to come back into, put your hand on your heart and breathe in. Really breathe in the light and who you are. Breathe into the feeling of who you are. Align that all the way. Often I see the crystalline grid inside Gaia, and I just anchor in and breathe in who I am. And then breathe out love for all the triggers that you have in your life. If you are triggered, which we often and just feel that peace inside, that you are allowed to feel those triggers, but understand that if you just come into alignment with your soul, who you are, accept everything about that, and let all others think whatever they need to think about you, and that is the only way we can hold each other accountable, you know, because if other people judge, that's their responsibility. It's not yours. I cannot be responsible for how you perceive this movie or this little film clip. I have an intention. I'm shining through my most authentic expression, but you will only receive it from your consciousness level. You will probably just receive a little portion of what I just transmitted. And I cannot control that. And I've used a lot of time coming to terms with that and really being okay with it, because why wouldn't I? How can I ever control how you will perceive what I transmit out? I mean, that's the whole thing. And I'm still learning. I still think it's very difficult when someone misunderstands me completely. My intention with making things and saying things, I know what that is. But very often people kind of give me, tells me what they perceived and what they got from those little things that I make or write or whatever. And I'm like, what? Is that what you're left with from that, 15 minutes or an hour or whatever I make? But then again, I just have to, if I feel, uncomfortable about that and feel triggered in a way that, wow. And a lot of times in my journey, I stopped creating because I felt I never, got the message out the way that I wanted to. I did when I watched the clip myself. I thought, but I'm saying this. And the other person would understand it completely differently. So, this is just the game. This is how it is. And we just have to really breathe in that light and be okay that people are perceiving from their consciousness level. Truth is not a solid thing. It's dynamic, and it will change. If you listen to this video maybe 6 months from now, you will hear something completely different. And that has to do with the vibration that we have. The whole body, the whole being has a vibration that is able to take in, a certain amount of light, a certain amount of knowledge, and it will not be the same now and ahead. And sometimes people feel the need to go back because it's too much. And I've experienced that a lot in my life with other people, that I'm like, didn't we talk about this? And I felt that we were sharing space and we were on the same page. And then just maybe some days, even just hours after, it feels completely lost. So how do you deal with that? The only way is to be okay with it, and be okay with yourself. Surroundings, the outer surroundings will continue to change and shift, and our energy is best used to align with who we are and know who we are. Work on that. Put all your efforts there, and just let everything else be. Just let it go and forgive a lot. Okay, so now I will raise myself up and show you this amazing sun. It's going to go down in 10 minutes, I think. This is just the most magical place where I live. It has so much to offer. Okay, so I will leave you with that. Sending you so much love on this collective journey towards higher consciousness.